ย์นั่งตรงไหน
น่าจะฟัง
นั่งตรงผมมาก่อน
ของอาจารย์พรุ่งนี้ครับผมขอไฟล์เผื่อไว้ได้ไหมครับอาจารย์
ได้ครับเดี๋ยวผมอีกนิดเดียว10 นาทีถูกไหม
ครับ10 ถึง 15 นาทีครับเพราะว่าเขากลัวเรื่องเน็ตมันไม่เสถียรครับอาจารย์ถ้าเน็ตไม่เสถียรมันจะส่งแบบไหวกันไม่ได้
พยายามฉีกแนวจากที่คนอื่นพูด
ครับ
งั้นก็พูดเทคโนโลยี2 ตัวที่มีคนพูดกันถึง Future Medical Education อันหนึ่งคือ Adaptive Learning ซึ่งใช้เขาเรียกว่า Learning Analytics เหมือน Data Analytics คือขณะที่นักเรียนมีต้อง feedback ข้อมูลตอบอะไรไปเรื่อยๆเนี่ยมันจะวิเคราะห์ behavior ของนักเรียนแล้วนักเรียนเรียนแบบไหนจึงจะได้ผลแล้วก็สามารถทำ tailor made เป็น personalized learning ให้กับนักศึกษาแพทย์ มาเฮ้ย
สวัสดีครับ Good morning and welcome Deans, faculty leadership, distinguished colleagues and guests. And thank you for joining us today. My name is Sitsanthorn Sumeti, an Assistant Dean for International Relations. And joining me today from our headquarters at Sirat Hospital is Dean Professor Prasit Wattanapa. and Professor Prapat Wanit Pongpan, Deputy Dean for International Relations. And we are pleased and honored to be the host of the 9th ASEAN Medical School Network virtual conference, which is the first conference that organized as a virtual one. Since we have a very tight schedule, before we start the program today, if any of the participants have any questions during the presentation, please type your questions in the Q&A box, and then we will sum it up and ask the question at the end during the discussion sessions. And next, I would like to invite Professor Prasit Wattanapa, the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, Sirirat Hospital, Mahidol University in Thailand, to give an opening remark. Please.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see everyone in good health. Welcome to this 9th ASEAN Medical School Network meeting. I hope you can remember last year we had a good time in Brunei. We had an on-site meeting. Unbelievable. Just only 1 year from that day, from those days to today, a lot of things have changed. However, what we would like to make sure that everyone member of the ASEAN Medical School Network will achieve the goals. Hope you will enjoy this online conference. This is the first time of the online conference. I can commit myself that you will enjoy everything that you had last year in Brunei. The only thing that I cannot commit to you, that is the dinner. That is the on-site dinner that we enjoy, listen to our friends sing some songs. I cannot arrange that because of some difficulty to do that, but hope you will enjoy this 9th ASEAN Medical School Network. Welcome everyone again to Thailand. Welcome everyone again to the ASEAN Medical School Network.
So thank you very much, Dean Prasit. Next, I would like to invite Dean Professor Ari Faral Siam to give the opening remark and start today's program. Please.
The Medicine General Hospital, Mahidol. Good morning, all members of ASEAN Medical School Network, and also we have representative from Peking University Health Science Center and Peking Union Medical College panelists, chairman, and ladies and gentlemen. As the president of ASEAN Medical School Network, I'm pleased to welcome you to the 9th ASEAN Medical School Network virtual conference with topic COVID-19 challenge and lesson learned focused on education. And I think it is our very first AMSN virtual conference organized by Faculty of Medicine, Sirirat Hospital, Mahidol University. Thank you again for Dean Prasit and also our friends from Faculty of Medicine, Sirirat Hospital. The topic that we choose in COVID-19 challenge and lesson learned focus on education, as well as now that unfortunately we are still facing the unprecedented pandemic of COVID-19. This situation creates unique challenges to medical schools. Both medical students and institutions around the world are continuously adapting and responding to unavoidable spread of virus, along with its entire repercussion within education system. On this year, although we are having modification prior our plan to hold the 2020 AMDS and ESCP in Cambodia in presentation. However, I hope that both participants and panelists will still participate with as much eagerness and also deeply engaged in sharing in each perspective views to discuss a suitable and effective learning environment during this pandemic. Let us not forget the aims of this annual event and the spirit that have brought us up to this point. This year, we also have invited guest speakers from all our colleagues in Peking University Health Science Center and also Peking Union Medical Polytechnic to further share their experiences. Last but not least, I would like to express our gratitude again to Faculty of Medicine, Sirius Hospital, Mahidol University for organizing this conference. My appreciation also goes to all panelists, moderators for sharing experience and expertise to us. Thank you very much. I hope we all could learn something meaningful for this conference. And without further ado, I say that we officially open this 9th ASEAN Medical School Network virtual conference. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, so so now we will begin the session for the first session for the morning, and it's going to be presented by Dr. Arya Kekali with the title of Opportunities Behind a Pandemic, Momentum for Empowering Medical Education Through Digital Transformation. And Professor Arya is from University of Indonesia. Please, Dr. Arya.
Thank you, Professor. Good morning, everyone. It's such an honor for me to present here. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Please click on here.
Huh?
Okay.
กล้องไม่เข้านี้แล้วจุ๋มไหม
ใช่พอดีผมตรงนี้มันสลับกันตายละไม่เป็นไรเดี๋ยว
In this occasion, I will present inside the opportunities behind the pandemic, the momentum of empowering medical education through digital transformations. So I'm from the e-learning unit. So this is part of the faculty to empower the lecturer, the student to conduct the e-learning unit. So this unit actually established way before the pandemic. And this is the outline. I will share about the
ผมลืมเชิญแชร์แมนครับผมคิดว่าเราเป็น moderator
practice what has changed through pandemic and how we empower the teachers, students, and the doctors, and also the community using the pandemic momentum. So in Indonesia, this is our map of distribution of COVID. Yeah, the red one is the high risk one, and until now we're still struggling. In Jakarta is here, in Java, yeah, and because of that, the trend is still increasing, unfortunately. So we need to conduct working and studying from home. This is a restriction from the Ministry of Education and also for the local province. So we have to do the studying from home. So by that situations, we have a model about how we can practice e-learning. Yeah, I will use the health belief model here. Maybe some of you already are familiar about this. It's thinking about the expectation, the perceived benefits, perceived barriers, and self-efficacy, whether we can do that or not. But it also have perceived susceptibility. Usually we use this for preventive of disease, yeah. But now I will use this model to explain about practicing e-learning, because this is also one of the I use this e-learning implementation as a part of prevention, because when we use the e-learning, everyone's studying from home, the lecturer, the student, and we can protect ourselves from transmitting the COVID. Yeah, and before that, at the first beginning of the pandemic, we do a survey and also qualitative study to lecturer and medical students. And regarding of that, this is from the learners, which is from the students. What do they think about practicing in learning? Okay, I can control my own studying timeline, but they also have, that's the benefit. The barriers, yeah, maybe about the internet access, yeah, or maybe they are afraid that they have too much assignment from that. And about the self-efficacy, they need to learn about so many applications, yeah, to do the e-learning. But they know about the susceptibility, about the threat. Yeah, they are so they're medical students, not only from the pre-clinic, but moreover in the clinical phase. Yeah, but they also need to deal not only about the COVID, but also for the burnout. Yeah, while they're learning, studying, using the video conference, maybe Zoom is the most favorite, yeah, familiar, yeah. We use some platform, yeah, not only Zoom, we use also Google Meet, also Microsoft Teams. Yeah, this is emerge. This is the theme, the topic that emerged from the learner's perspective, yeah. And how about in the teacher's perspective? Yeah, in the teacher's perspective is quite the same. Yeah, the difference is only the video recorded, flipped classroom provide me more time, but in the other way, we need also make a time to make a video or maybe e-learning, the platform in the Moodle. We use Moodle for our learning management systems, not to mention about the internet access, and the lecturer also diverse in age group, yeah. There is a young generation, but also the older generation, they need to learn about application. And also they concern about the chance to have a burnout and Zoom fatigue. So dealing with this condition, how to practice e-learning, how to transform our digital literacy, yeah. So our unit, we collaborate with the medical education unit. Yeah, we perform a series of training, yeah, to empower the teacher. This is our first phase, yeah. So we do a e-learning literacy skill training, and not only for the course coordinator, we have a module course, but also for the resource person, the lecturer, how to do interactive class, yeah, how to record your own video, how to make a gamification to make sure the student really pay attention to the class, yeah. And so for the facilitator, because this is not only one-way study, this is student-centered study. Yeah, we have a share online discussion, how to conduct that. So this is like a new era. Not everyone is already familiar with that. So we conduct a serial e-learning skill training, yeah, together with medical education unit. So we do it using the video conference platform. We ask them to share their screen, to learn from their laptop, share their problem, and we do it not only once, but serial. And at the earlier phase of pandemic, we can do this, we do it in the laboratory, but then this is before March, yeah, in the first March. But after that, we only can do it on, yeah. We do it to the all age lecturer, but not only a lecturer, but also administrative staff and to the medical student also. And we provide video making, yeah, so video producing for the lecturer, yeah, for flipped classroom, yeah, and the editing process. But nowadays you only can do this online, yeah. Fortunately, we have a good infrastructure to conduct this online after this lockdown. And what is the output? And the output is we have an increased online learning activities during pandemic, yeah, for the medical students, then for the doctors and healthcare worker, but also for the community, yeah. the topic is not only about the COVID preventions, but also the other emerging issues. And thank God, the participation is very good. We have a high participation, and some of the conference is also issuing certificate for the participants. Yeah, and we have 11 open course. We have active online module. We have open content webinar. We conduct this after during pandemic. Yeah, and this is the example. We have medical students training. We conduct the kuliah kerja nyata in bahasa. In English, it's like a preparation before they go to the field. Yeah, before they're working to the field, to the healthcare centers. And the participant is beyond expectation. We have 5,000 participants from all Indonesia. Yeah, from all Indonesia, not only from Jakarta. And then we have medical doctor and health worker training. We have this module, and this is for the medical doctor or maybe the internship doctors, doctors that about to be allocated in the healthcare centers. Yeah, and the participant is also amazing. We have 3,000 and more participants. Yeah, and they are very active. This is talking about how to prevent, make a good prevention and how to conduct services in the pandemic situations. But not only issues related to the pandemic, we have also emerging and trending science like artificial intelligence, like maybe now in Indonesia, we have herbal medicine for COVID prevention. This is also have a very good interest, yeah, from the public. Yeah, this is artificial intelligence, how to conduct a big data analysis. Yeah, it also has a very good interest from the public, from the medical doctors, and also healthcare practitioners, and also about the herbal medicine. In Indonesia, we have so many herbs, yeah, that can be empowered, can be utilized for increasing our immunity. Yeah, we have a serial webinar. Yeah, we have like 9 serial webinar and a very good interest. The participant is covering 5,000 and more. So this is a very good response from in the pandemic situation. So for that, we also not involving the medical doctors or medical students. We also need to give something to educate to the community. Yeah, so we have also the education for the community. Yeah, but in this case, we need to find what is the best platform, because maybe medical doctors or maybe medical students, they already familiar with the learning management system elements like Moodle or maybe like Blackboard. Yeah, but using that, the response is not quite satisfying, only like 200. And then we try to find another approach. But the approach is using the YouTube seminar, YouTube base, yeah. And by using this familiar approach, we also have a better response from the community. Yeah, we have a serial YouTube. We disseminate our webinar not only in the Zoom but also in the YouTube, and so they can access even better, yeah, even easier. And this is, for example, this is me giving the webinar about how to teach, how for the parents, how for them to be together with their children, how to nurture or maybe guide them to practice to studying at home. So this is for the teachers and for also the parents. But the resource persons, yeah, the expert is from the psychiatry and also from the pediatrician. So this is like how we provide the education not only for the medical doctors but also for the community. And this is our e-learning courses. Yeah, we have some e-learning courses, and thank God the response is very good. Yeah, not only for the doctors, but also for the community and also for the medical students. This is during the pandemic. So the conclusion is, okay, pandemic is strike us hard, yeah, in the way that we cannot go the way we were before. We need to study and we work at home. But this is a momentum for digital transformation in e-learning. The obstacles in our health belief model, in this case in the e-learning practice models, we can eliminate them by proper training for the lecturer, for the medical doctors. Yeah, so the important phase of behavioral change in e-learning is we can empowering teacher and students, so we can build the self-efficacy. They are confident that they can do the e-learning. Yeah, they can teach in the e-learning. They can prepare appropriate in a module in the e-learning. But we can also empowering the medical doctor and healthcare worker. We prove them that this has a benefit. Yeah, if they participate in this e-learning, yeah, they have a benefit not only for knowledge, yeah, also for the certificate, and also educating and empowering the community. We can increase their awareness and knowledge. Hopefully, we can make them even better to protect themselves in the community and also to disseminate our message of COVID prevention to the others. So what we have here is only a small evidence of enthusiasm. We need more evidence in maintaining the participation because we only have like less than 6 months, but how we can provide this, how can we maintain this in the long term is still need to be proven in the in a more better study. So I think that's all for my presentation. And this is only can be created with the wonderful collaboration of our e-learning unit and also a medical education unit. You can see that our Dean, Prof. Ari, is very, very active in motivating us here. And also the e-learning champion, we call it like that, e-learning champion, the medical's lecturer who struggling and not struggling, who always motivating themselves that practicing e-learning is something that doable, yeah, and also benefitable. So I think that's all. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone.
So thank you very much, Dr. Arya. And first, I have to apologize to Dr. Eric Tenda and the audience that I forgot to turn the session and introduce Dr. Eric Tenda, who is the chairman for the morning session, the first session today. So Dr. Tenda, now the conference is yours.
Well, thank you very much. A very good morning to everyone, to all the professors, doctors, and if there's any medical students actually watching our conference. First, a very good morning. I'm from University of Indonesia. I'm from the Faculty of Medicine. First of all, I would like to say congratulations to the committee for this conference. And also I would like to say thank you to the president, who's also the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Indonesia, Professor Ari, for having me. It's 20 minutes to 4 a.m. I'm currently based in London, but more than happy, and thank you very much, everyone. So for the first topics, we have 5 speakers who will lead us to a discussion and also to elaborate more on the overview of digital transformations, lesson learned from the pandemic. So first, we already listened to Dr. Arya Kekal. Thank you very much, Dr. Arya, for your very nice presentation. So if I can read Dr. Arya short biography. So Dr. Arya is an academic staff of the Community Medicine's Department of Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Indonesia since 2005. And he's currently responsible as the head of epidemiology and biostatistics divisions. Dr. Arya was graduated from medical doctor program at Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Indonesia in 2015, and got his master degree in information and technology from Faculty of Computer Science, Universitas Indonesia in 2007, and also finished his PhD by doing collaborations with RACFON, Harvard School of Public Health, USAID, and Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Indonesia. Again, thank you very much, Dr. Arya. So without any further ado, I would like to invite Professor Jamuna Fadivelu from University of Malaya. So the topic will be presented by Professor Jamuna Vadifelu is the transformation on the run, digitizing medical education during COVID-19 pandemic. A short bio from Professor Jamuna. Professor Jamuna currently serves as the head of medical education, research and development unit. Graduated as a PhD in microbiology from London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, UK, and work as a postdoctoral research fellow in the University of Maryland, United States. And currently, Professor Jamuna entrusted with leading and managing the curriculum revision and implementation and quality assurance of the undergraduate and postgraduate curricula at Faculty of Medicine, University of Malaya. So Professor Jamuna, the time is yours.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Can we share? Thank you very much. I need to make a slight correction. This presentation is done between myself and Prof. Yang Farida. And Prof. Yang Farida is the Deputy Dean of the undergraduate program at the Faculty of Medicine. She's a radiologist by training, graduated from the University of Malaya. And she will now do the presentation on both our behalf. Okay.
Thank you for that introduction, Jamuna. And thank you for the opportunity for us to present. I will be talking on the first part of our presentation, which is transformation on the run, digitizing medical education during the COVID-19 pandemic. And throughout the day, other colleagues of mine will continue this talk of how we transform our medical education during the COVID-19 pandemic. For the first part of our presentation, I'll be focusing on the administration changes that we had to go through. So with all other universities in the region, University Malaya faced a similar issue with COVID-19, which caused disruption in the implementation of our undergraduate and postgraduate program. And this led to a situation where rapid changes were happening and we had to be fluid in facing those changes. Malaysia went on lockdown, in which we coined as our movement control order, and that started on the 18th of March. And our situation here was also sort of compounded because our teaching hospital, the University of Malaya Medical Center, was designated or is designated as a COVID hospital in a red zone.
Cannot see.
You can't see the slide?
Can you see the slides?
Can I have?
Please do the slideshow.
I can see your slide. Yeah, I can see your slides. Yeah.
Yang, you may want to make it full screen so that when you forward it, we can see it clearly as well. Thank you.
Agree.
Can you see now?
We can see the slides, but I think most grateful if you can put it in the presenter view. On the full screen.
Right. Okay, I will share again, yeah?
Yeah.
It's when we do this, we need to put it in a slideshow. But we've not shared.
The futures of technology.
Zoom slideshow. Let me just. No. Share. Resume slideshow. I think just resume it. Present. Can you see the slides now?
Yeah, so we currently see your first slide, which
Yes,
is
I can. I can see the slide.
But it is still not in a big in a full mode, yeah?
No, not in the full mode, yeah.
Is it now?
Working now. Working now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
About
great.
the technology here.
Good, good.
Okay.
It's not moving. Okay. Okay. All right. So all right. So as I was mentioning, we were designated, or we are still designated as a COVID hospital in a red zone. And this red zone saw some of the largest number of cases of COVID-19. And because of that, all training exercises were halted as our healthcare workers, as well as our postgraduate clinical trainees, had to focus on managing, controlling, and reducing the impact of this pandemic or this disease on our patients. But it also created a situation where I'm sure all of you faced that a lot of our services were halted. So it gave us time, the ones that don't have to be on the front line, it gave us time to think about how do we resume our teaching and learning once the situation becomes more in control. And therefore, we had to plan in crisis mode. And of course, what we found, just like what University of Indonesia found, that dedicated teamwork is key, because we need that team to work, to plan, to strategize, as well as to anticipate things that could become a problem for us to roll out our action plan. And as with other universities and other countries as well, I'm sure that while we were working on this plan of action in an administrative way, we also had to comply and with governmental regulatory bodies. And for us, it was Ministry of Higher Education, Malaysian Qualification Agency, the Malaysian Medical Council, as well as our own university, University of Malaya. Now, most of the regulations or guidelines that were rolled out by these regulatory bodies were very useful for us in deciding how to plan for our curriculum and how to resume. However, there had been times when we felt that these guidelines were perhaps contradictory to each other, or did not come out in a timely manner, or were not aligned to our own plans of actions. And when that happened, we were put in a situation where things can be a bit chaotic. And we learned very quickly, like I'm sure all of you all did, that we had to come up with plan A, plan B, plan C, and sometimes even plan D. So that did, it was exhausting, but at the same time, it was good for us to, get the creative juices running and going. As for, so first we had to comply with, of course, Ministry of Higher Education. And one of the first things that they told us to do was to send all our patients back home. All our students back home. In hindsight, this was good because it made the control of the disease much better and easier. However, I think the implementation of this and the time that this came out was a little bit of a shock, because this order came out 2 days before the start of our movement control order, and that created a mad rush for the students to go home without any operating procedures put in place. Later on, things became better when the situation in our country were felt to be under control. By July 2020, our Ministry of Higher Education allowed certain students to come back. And by this time, students were returning in batches and we could control that better. And our final year students were allowed to come back by 1st of July 2020. Now, currently, we are in the recovery MCO phase. All hospitals and health clinics are now opened, and all clinical students from medicine, dentistry, as well as nursing programs are allowed back into campus. In terms of Malaysian qualifying agency, we were allowed flexibility in reducing our student learning time, as well as allowed flexibility in conducting assessments. Malaysian Medical Council actually gave the mandate that Senate and university were given autonomy to decide, but then put in a guideline that says remote learning can only be limited to theory component matching to levels 1 and 2 of the Miller's pyramid, whereas levels 3 and 4 of competency of the Miller's pyramid cannot be conducted totally online or remote learning. So that created a little bit of conflict, because if you decide to give us autonomy, then you should not be, putting in all these guidelines. But we have to comply, because again, these are regulatory bodies. So that was why it was very important for us to bring back our clinical year students as fast as possible. In the university, of course, we had to have a change in the academic calendar. We went on full online mode on the 27th of April. So from the start of the MCO to the full online mode, we had around 5 weeks to transform the implementation of our program. University Malaya had always been very traditional in its approach of teaching and learning. And for us to change this in 5 weeks, it was really transforming on a run. So universities allowed us to be flexible in our assessment and alternative methods of assessing. Students were allowed to get an incomplete grade, and some of our medical students benefited from this, especially for our international students, because they could not come back in time to complete the competencies. So we could keep them as grade incomplete until they've completed that. And graduation and students' outbound mobility, of course, were affected by COVID-19. We also, just like other universities and other hospitals, prioritize the safety of our staff and our students. For our students, as I've mentioned, students are now returning in batches, and we prepare the risk assessment for students so that they are very aware of what is it that the do's and don'ts that they have to practice, both in campus as well as in the hospital. And created a certification program, a COVID-19 preparedness certificate that each student have to have before they can enter university. In terms of staff, we could do office space overhaul, and the staff were rotated to ensure that we could keep the physical and social distancing that was needed. Our teams came up with apps to help with safety, that was to get students as well as staff to declare their health declaration every day. And of course, Malaysia came up with a contact tracing app called My Sejahtera. So just like other universities, we also see opportunities in the disaster that we were faced. As I mentioned, we were a very traditional university, but we now have implemented a full online and blended learning, which was felt to be long overdue. Within the 5 weeks that we had, we could explore and maximize the technologies for teaching and learning that were existing. The staff are now empowered, and we have built capacity, especially in IT. We are now looking at creating a virtual patient platform And this would not have been possible, or we would not have had the time if it had not been for the COVID pandemic. And of course, the explosion of webinars around the region, around the world. And that was very good to have, because we felt that the burden was not ours alone, and we could learn from other people and we could share the burden with others. We also, of course, had challenges. Poor connectivity infrastructure was a main concern. So the university very quickly worked with a telecoms company to, get them to provide free data for our students. But what we still continue to have to do is to try and switch mindset of our staff as well as our students to the new norms. Things are getting better, but this is a continuous process, and I'm sure everyone are facing the same problem. So in conclusion, we thank you very much for allowing us to share with you what we faced during the COVID-19 pandemic and the digital transformation that we had to go through. So we shared with you our timeline. We are now in the recovery phase of our MCO, and we are hopeful that things are under control, but we remain vigilant. And as I mentioned, all our students are now back. So clinical competency are now being carried out in a face-to-face manner. Other types of teaching and learning continue to be online. In terms of design, development, training, my other colleagues will be talking about that. We've talked about the compliance that we need to fulfill, as well as the safety, and how we continue to try and make the curriculum sustainable, and by looking at the opportunities that were given to us and mitigating the risk. So with that, I thank you. Apologies for the slide issue. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, Professor Yang Farida Abdul Aziz and Professor Jamuna Fadivalu from University of Malaya, Malaysia. Thank you for your presentations. We're going to move forward to the next speaker. I would like to invite Professor Chit. So Professor Chit, current position, she is a pro-rector academic, University of Medicine, Mandalay Department of Human Resource for Health, Ministry of Health and Sports, Myanmar. And Professor Chit will kindly share with us about the challenges and opportunities for teaching, learning in medical universities during COVID crisis. So, Professor Chit, time is yours.
Hello, Minglawa. Can you hear?
We can hear you clearly, Professor.
Okay. Minglawa, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm A.H. from University of Medicine, Mandalay. Before I start my presentation, I would like to say a few words to thank organizing committee of the virtual conference today, and also my thanks go to Professor Kim Maung-Lue, Rector of University of Medicine, Mandalay, giving me a chance to talk to you today. Let me share my slide. Right, okay. I'm going to talk you about my topic is challenges and opportunity for teaching and learning medical university and COVID crisis. It has been many months now. The coronavirus pandemic impact on all aspects of us individually as well as society as a whole, mainly on the education aspect as well as health, socioeconomic and cultural crisis as we are facing together. There are various impact of COVID-19 in the short term, medium term, as well as the long term. Before the pandemic, our usual practice is face-to-face doctor consultation. Patients are happy to waiting long hours in the waiting room, and the teachers and students have an active teaching learning from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the school. Since during COVID pandemic, our government announced that stay-at-home policy, As a result of that, our university had been shut down since April 2020. So really a major impact on the entire higher education of us. So during stay-at-home policy, initially we are sitting, sleeping, and eating. But I really want to know about what is going on with the other university all over the world. So by surfing through the internet, I'm trying to find out the other study and survey done by the other university. I'd like to share the global survey result of International Association of University. I try to compare and contrast with our university with this global result. The results said, how has the COVID-19 pandemic affected your institution? 59% of the campus activity have stopped and the institution is completely closed. That is like our university. 30% of institution is partially open, but there are major disruptions. Minority of the institution in 10% is open as usual, but containment measures have been put in place to avoid spread of COVID-19, and 1% is open as usual and no special measure in place for COVID-19. This is survey result. We are in the 59%, same as the 59% of the university. Another is, how has the COVID-19 affected teaching and learning? 67% of classroom teaching has been replaced by distant teaching and learning. 24%, most of the teaching activities are currently suspended, but the institution is working on developing solutions to continue teaching and learning through digital and self-study means. That is same as our university, and 7% teaching has been cancelled and 2% it is not being affected. Maybe previously they are virtual university. The global survey on the infrastructure to communicate with students and staff for updates and information. In developed countries like America and Europe, they have enough infrastructure to communicate with the student and teacher. But in developing countries in Africa, they said no. 87% of the African higher education institutions, they do not have an adequate communication infrastructure in place. For us, we have an infrastructure, but I think it's not enough to communicate with our students and staff for more information. Another challenge is on the research. Most of the institution, 80% is affected research by the COVID-19, but 20% the research are still going on. How has the COVID-19, sorry, I want to go back to my slide. How has the COVID-19 affected research by your institution? 83% due to the travel cancellation, 81% due to the research conference or cancellation, 52% said scientific projects are in danger of not being completed, and in 21%, scientific research has completely stopped. We all have this problem for the research. Another thing is, because of the emergency distant teaching learning, our university have to do emergency distant teaching learning. Because of sudden and unprepared shift to online teaching, our student needs assistance. Staff are facing unprecedented challenges. University leaders had to reinvent how to run the campus operation. As we all know, feasibility and quality of the distant teaching learning is depend upon the technical infrastructure, distant infrastructure and online access. In that issue, we have equal opportunity. We do not have an equal opportunity for the student and staff. This is our main concern. The second is distance teaching learning competency of the staff. The level of readiness or preparedness of the teachers are very diverse. This is another area of challenging to our university, and we have spent a lot of time to develop distance teaching learning competency of our staff. Another is field of study. Some of the field in medicine, like clinical medicine and laboratory, cannot be fully replaced by distance teaching learning. So another challenge in our university is financial implication is one of the most important challenges to our university. Apart from these challenges, our greater challenges is like other developing country. We have a limitation in the electricity, slow internet connection in the remote area of Myanmar, difficulties in navigating ways around the online learning platform, and limited access to the latest technology and service in all of our staff. So because of these challenges, we blended with our human capacity with the technology and work together to develop 24/7 development of the virtual care, consultation over the phone call, for meeting and class discussion through the webinars. So we have opportunity to do the virtual learning by using online learning platform and class discussion through video calls, assignment and quiz via Microsoft Teams and Google Forms. This opportunity, we have it. Another opportunity is the lifelong learning and distance education. Enhancement of the opportunity for working from distance and working from home, and the opportunity for learners to access the lifelong learning. Distance teaching learning offers important opportunities for flexible learning possibility. As previous speaker said, our university has a very traditional and we are used to with face-to-face teaching, not online learning. But because of the COVID-19, we have the opportunity to learn other flexible learning possibility like blended learning, hybrid learning, and synchronized and asynchronous learning. So let's see the flexible learning opportunity. We have a blended learning. We try to develop the blended learning and hybrid blended learning. And other is new. We have opportunity for new horizon opportunity for teaching learning. For the synchronized learning, we learn at the same time. We have a live communication, which is less flexible, and we have to do the pre-structured time. Own space, communicate when convenient, and we can free time and flexible and work beyond the scheduled time. So for the synchronous learning, we are using the audio visual based like conferencing and webcast, and text based like chat channel and instant messaging, and use multiple modalities. For the asynchronous, we are using is pre-record, multimedia, and text-based email and sending electronic documents and other like virtual libraries and social network. So this is how to prepare for online learning, online teaching learning. I think that Professor So from University of Medicine 1, he is the right person because he's the chairperson of Rector Committee. He is going to talk about preparing of the online teaching learning in next section. So another opportunity is pushing force for capacity building of faculty with new normal classroom. We are trying to do it. So as we agreed that shift in mindset for the new horizon of opportunities for teaching learning is really important for our students as well as for our faculty members. Because of the COVID crisis, we have an opportunity to improve the crisis management readiness. This is another opportunity we have it. As a conclusion, our institution have a digital transformation in higher education. We have an opportunity to invest further in technical infrastructure to enable this shift from management learning system to cloud service, opportunity to digitalization of administrative process and access of document and resources and e-library. So preparation, we need to prepare and prepare. So preparation is the key. It is a major lesson to be learned from the COVID-19. So thank you so much for your kind attention. This is our university website. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Shit, for your nice presentation. I think we can learn a lot from your presentation. So before we move to the next speaker, I would like to welcome all the professors, doctors from all the countries in Southeast Asia. Welcome again to the 9th Asian Medical Network conference done virtually. So I would like to next invite Associate Professor Okasharul from Ramatibodi Hospital, Mahidol University, Thailand. So Dr. Chusak is currently a Deputy Dean in Digital Education. I'm also Associate Professor Chusak, the PhD in Clinical Epidemiology from Mahidol University, and also Associate Professor Chusak sit as the Chair of Research Ethics Committee. So, Associate Professor Chusak, the time is yours.
Thank you, Professor Tenda, for your kind introduction, and greeting all the members. Okay. Thank you for your kind introduction, and good morning to everyone. Let me introduce briefly about the Faculty of Medicine, Ramatibodi Hospital. Right now we have about 1,200 beds, and we have 4 schools in one faculty. I will emphasize on the medical education, which is we have about 200 medical students per year, and our curriculum is a 6-year system, 3-year preclinical, and then 3 years clinical year. Before the COVID situation, at Ramatibodi, we try to integrate the educational technology into our curriculum. Right now, we consider ourselves between this phase, the augmentation and modification. We use the model of SAMR, which is defined by Professor Ruben Pendetula. And before this period, we use the let our students have their own portable ultrasound, as you may see. As you may see in the picture, and then we use a simulation in many circumstances in both residency training and undergrad training. But as you expected, during the COVID situation at the early of the year, we during the hot zone at that time, we have to see all the on-campus education. But okay, right now we are in the our government already announced that we already on the safe zone, and all the campus activity will resume as normal. But we have summarized our learning, and then learn what happened and what we will do if the next outbreak happen in Thailand again. And as you can see that in our previous setting, all simulation, all device have go to waste because we cannot do the on class or the on-site education as we have planned. So that what happened to Ramathipati. Our learning come from the effort of medical students, administrative staff, and educational staff on May 6 to 10 May. They have performed a survey, especially on the fourth year student, which have the most impact because they have the transition from the third year to the fourth year. This is what happened in Ramathipati Hospital at that time. What we do, as you can see from the slide, we combine several teaching methods, several teaching format together. Why we have to do this? Because before the COVID situation, we already use the LMS like a Moodle or the OpenEdX for some medical education. But the problem is that because we still use the traditional teaching method like in class and then word loud, something like this, which is very effective at that time. So using the LMS and the online teaching is not popular in Ramathipati at that time. And with the COVID situation, we have to move hurriedly to the online learning. And we use many modality at that time, as I said before. But what we learned is that the problem at that time, this is a 5 key problem that we faced during transition to online learning during the March to May when there is a hot zone in Thailand. The first problem that we face is the communication. Because we have about 200 students per year, and when all students have to go home and stay at home, it's quite difficult for communication. So at the end, we come up with the develop a single channel of communication. Because some students were left out because our conventional method of communication may not effective enough, and then peer-to-peer communication may have the problem. And the second problem is the scheduling. So as our previous speaker said before, because the generation of our students have changed, they want to control their lifestyle, they want to control their learning environment. So we allow the schedule to be adaptive to our student lifestyle. In Ramathipati, we usually start the class very early at the 8 o'clock in the morning because we have the ward loud at 7, and then at 8 they can go to our class. But right now, because it's that our students said it's too early for them when they have to learn at home, so we have to change the schedule accordingly. And for some classes, we allow the student to do the self-study rather than go to online class because they want to control the schedule by themselves. And next thing that surprised us is that our students have a lot of concern about privacy. What is the privacy is that during synchronized learning, at the first time, we want to make sure that our students attentive to the lecturer or the and then we want to make sure that they present in the class at that time similar to the on-site teaching. Our students complain that because they need to turn on the video camera, they feel that invade their privacy. So we need to adapt ourselves, our staff, to allow students to turn off their video during inactivity. And also, like other presenter have told us that the internet availability is an issue. That we cannot know for sure that this is a real situation or not, because sometimes our students inform that they didn't join the class because their internet availability. But so we allow asynchronous learning, like when our teacher start a class, and then we will record the teaching and post it on the website, so our students can learn it later, which is to adapt with the learning style of our students. And last thing is that the technical skill of all the players in the field, all the stakeholders, both the student, both the lecturer, both the supportive staff, we need all to relearn and reskill about use the online tool. So even the WebEx, Google Meeting, something like this, they all have their own problem. So this is the what we learned during our transition. And I like to show you about our student opinion. From our data that we collect, the online learning has some side that our students show us, because they don't want to travel to the university anymore, and they can learn anywhere, like in cafe or something that they want. So they think that it's good. And some students also tell us that because the online learning, they said that they can focus more. And like you have facing today, that you see it on the screen rather than on the slide that used in the lecture room. And that some students tell us that it makes them more focused. And in some classes, our lecturer use the breakout room in Zoom, and then they can do the small group discussion. And some of our students have the opportunity to use that, and they said that they're quite impressed and think that make them is it more like convenient to discuss with their friend and ask the lecturer. So this is the bright side, the positive opinion from our students. But also, some of our students have told us that because they have to look at the screen all day for learning, it's more tiresome and need more concentration. And some of students told us that what they hate most is that when teacher call them for answer the question or ask them for discussion, and they also hate to turn on the video, which is maybe the lifestyle of the student today. And this is what happened with the opinion. And as you know, when we do the 5-scale rating, the score is about 1.6 something, which is not too great, but not too bad during our hurriedly moving from the offline or the on-site learning to the online learning. This is something new, and we learn along the way. And this is the summary of our learning. So to prepare for if there is a second wave in Thailand, what we need to prepare is that both in medical student side and our medical school. So the first one is that students have to adapt themselves. Some of students, they miss a lot of class because they stay at home, so they don't have to wake up early in the morning for ward round or something. So they stay late at night and wake up late. So they miss some class. And then that what happened in our experience. So they need to self that discipline. Otherwise, they cannot catch up with their peer. And the second issue is that something that may be more difficult because the internet availability, which is vary among students, and also the device or the internet speed at home, something like this, which is we cannot control all. Fortunately, at Mahidol University, we have the agreement with the mobile phone operator, and they provide the SIM card, 4G free SIM card for students, which is in some students that have the problem of accessing internet at home, they can use the mobile phone with the 4G, which is have enough speed to learn synchronously. For the medical school, the lecturer need to adapt themselves. So everyone can guess that some lecturer adapt poorly to that. They use their offline teaching style to the online teaching style and make the student feel uncomfortable, which is the need to be adjusted. And like other presenter that already mentioned that we need to adapt the teaching format to make the class more interesting to our students. Otherwise, they will complain and they cannot get the result of the learning as we expected. And I think another most important thing is that we need to prepare our supporting staff, because for our faculty member, the technology may not their main skill. So during the problem during the online learning need to be solved by someone that have experience and have the skill enough to do that, which is I think training supportive staff will be very important to help smoothing transition to online learning. And lastly, I suggest to read this article from this list of authors. Accidentally, what I told you today, quite similar to the already mentioned in this article, and I think it's worthwhile, and this I think it is a good reference for any one that want to adapt themselves to change their teaching style and what to expect, and the problem and solving that may happen during the online situation, which is I think this is a very interesting article that I suggest the reading. Thank you very much for your attention.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Isak, for your presentation. So on schedule, we supposed to have another speaker, which is Associate Professor Tran Deep Quan from University of Medicine and Pharmacy at Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. But I just got a confirmation from the committee that um, uh, Professor Tran is not here with us. So I would like to open a discussion. If there's any questions regarding the topics presented by all the speakers, I'm more than happy to get the questions from everyone. So yeah, if you can use the Zoom app on a participant by raising your hands, then all right. Is there anyone from the participant who would like to ask a question to the speakers? Okay. Okay, so I think just to save the time, I would like to ask this important questions to all the speakers. I'm more than welcome to get your thoughts on how to bring these professors and doctors. I mean, talking about technologies, the youngsters they are more familiar to these technologies, and we also know sometimes technology will fail us, and the challenges that we're facing is as a lecturer. Sometimes we're not familiar to the technology that we actually proposing to the curriculum to be used. So anyone would like to share about this?
Okay, Professor Tenda, let me share first. For your questions about the let's say older or older generation of the lecturer, I think the key factor will be supporting staff. If we have the skills supporting staff, this will smooth the transition, because they want to adapt themselves, they want to change, but they may lack the skill or knowledge to do that. And in Ramatipati, we use a lot of supportive staff to do that, and that help a lot, because teaching them to do everything by themselves may be difficult. Even our younger staff, we use Zoom today at the earlier stage. Even our younger staff, they're not capable to do a lot with Zoom. They don't know how to annotate. They don't know how to use the breakout room, something like this, which is the something that need training too. So supportive staff, I think, is the key factor. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Professor Chusa. So so now I think we're going to move again to the last speaker for the first session. So Associate Professor Tran Deep Tuan. So Associate Professor Tran Deep Tuan is currently President and also lecturer at the University of Medicine and Pharmacy at Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Professor Tran Deep Tuan will present for the session with the title of Interprofessional Education on COVID-19 Management and Hybrid Virtual Actual Training Format. So Professor Tran, time is yours.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. So can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
Okay.
Excellent. Yeah.
So can you see the screen?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So the title of my presentation is Interprofessional Education on COVID-19 Management, and this is a hybrid training format. So as you know, so in this presentation, I will the content including 3 sessions. The first one is the challenges in training COVID-19 management at our university. The second is the solution to overcome the challenges, and then is the lesson that we learn from this process. So as you know, in our country, the COVID-19 cases increased since February, and in March, almost every school in university in the country are reluctant to open their campus. And at the same time, because of the increasing number of cases, the MOH, the Ministry of Health, asked some medical school to prepare their last year student, just in case our healthcare system is overloaded. So we have the medical student, the nursing student, that they are in the last year ready to help the healthcare system. So that's the challenge that how we can respond to the call for the Ministry of Health to teach our students about COVID-19 management in the universities. So as you know, we have two dual contradictory challenges. One is about the mass education, because we have so many students come from so many different faculties. And then at the same time, we have to still to follow the rule to prevent the spreading of the COVID-19 for social distancing and some other measures. So this is a challenge. So for the mass education, we have so many different students come from many different faculties. So that's the quantity, we have a lot of students. At the same time, how can we deliver and help them know how to take care of the patient, how to detect the patient, how to do health education, and how to take the specimen for testing. And we still have to be able to do some measure for prevention, for example, social distancing. And for social distancing, at that time, the central government ordered we have to keep less than 20 students per class. And we have to also follow some other measures. For example, must require the whole people, I mean, not only in the campus, but everyone have to wear masks and keep washing hands. And so if we try to do this for the time, the duration is also very important. It has to be brief, quick, and in a matter of minutes. So to do this, we have to plan. The schedule, the teaching should be well planned in order to take care of all of this social distancing. So that's the challenge. So what is the solution? So the solution for this is we try to do a hybrid training format. So the hybrid means we have online interactive classes, and we also have offline practical sessions. Because in this training, it's not only about the theoretical, the knowledge, but we also try to train the practical part, how to take the specimen, the sample for testing. So that's why we have this hybrid format to train our students. And also the students not only come from diverse field, but the faculty also come from different faculty. So for faculty, we have 72 faculty from 6 different disciplines. So they were divided into 9 diverse groups with 6 members. So 6 members in one group. So we have total 9 groups. And they co-design the objective and the teaching contents. And they co-taught the IPE courses at the same time. So at the same time, they are online as a group and teach the student as a group. For the student, we have more than 1,000 students. So they are divided into 24 diverse groups, with each group consists of 50 students. So this is the format for online teaching. So we have a smaller group for the practical session. So they learn from 6 faculty at the same time, and they learn to each other. The students learn from each other. For online interactive courses, we have 7 recorded presentations. We uploaded in advance, so the students were able to watch in advance. And when they come for the class, they discuss. The faculty will mention and also try to clarify the key concept of the presentation. So we also have 2 online interprofessional cases, one in the hospital setting and another one in the community setting. So we also have 9 online health education situations. So in this 9 online session, the student will do role play. Role play. The student will be like educator. Another student will be educated by the educator, and other will observe and they give feedback. And actually, this online education is really interesting because they have a very, very active feedback, and they learn from each other. It's very nice. And we have also one-line knowledge assessment. When they finish all of this, they have an assessment. And also after each online course, we also have course evaluation. And the feedback is quite good and quite positive, although they also have some negative feedback. So here's the online course. As you can see, here's we have different. Here is the course for COVID-19. Talk about the SARS-CoV-2. And here is the content like we uploaded. This is a 7 presentation were loaded in advance for the student to watch before coming to the class. And here you can see we have real-time online discussion. We have so many groups at the same time, but each group have only 50 students with a group of faculty from different fields. So you can see they have discussion, both a verbal discussion or chatting, writing discussion. So another format is the offline. This one is for practical session. So this part, we teach the student how to use personal protective equipments and teach them how to take, preserve, and transport the specimen for COVID-19 testing. So the student is divided into group with at most is 20 members. Before coming to the session, they are required to watch the recording presentation in advance, so they know the procedure, and when they come, they are teaching, they will practice by themselves. So what we learned from this IPE education in the midst of COVID-19. So the first question, the first thing is we have a common goals. Although we have a common challenges for everyone, the student, the faculty, everyone have to keep to follow the rule of social distancing ordered by the central government. But at the same time, we still have to respond to the call for the Ministry of Health how to train our last year students to prepare them just in case our healthcare system was overloaded. And this is the common goals. And with the common goals, we communicate the common goals to our students, to our faculty. Of course, it's not always easy. With some students at the beginning, they are quite worried because they are not sure what they will learn, what they will do, and what the healthcare system will motivate it and mobilize them to do what kind of things, because they think they are not ready. But we try to convince them that they will do whatever, only the thing that they can do. They will not require to do something over their responsibility. And we try to convince the student, and the student understand the message and understand the common goals that the university respond to the Ministry of Health. And we also try to convince them by a lot of measures to protect them from the infection. So, and then because of these common goals and also a lot of communication with the student and the faculty, we can carry on this activity. So the stakeholders very important. We have a lot of stakeholders involved, like the leadership of the university, of course, and then we also have the finance, training, administration. We have the Center of Medical Education, the Center of Technology and Informatics. We have different faculty, the student and the faculty join us for the School of Medicine, Nursing, and Public Health. We have more than 100 faculty and employees join. And also it's very nice that we can also get sponsor from private sector, from Novartis, from the NGO IBM, and also even aid from a foreign government, from USAID. And this is also get the support from the Ministry of Health. So a lot of stakeholders involved in this process. So here you can see we have also, we try to work together, we try to have a timely recognition of the faculty and also for the student. And although it's, we have to keep the social distancing, so physically we are distance, but we try mentally we are close to each other. So as you can see, they work early in the beginning, and sometimes you can see our faculty, they work even very late. You can see here at over 10 p.m., they're still discussing, and so I have to jump in and say, you have to take rest, and I say good night to all of them. So the conclusion is, there's a challenge here, the mass education, and also at the same time we have to keep social distancing. But 19 COVID is also give us an opportunity for interprofessional education, and more important in general about e-learning. So here I didn't mention about e-learning in general, but we also using this opportunity to promote e-learning in our university, in our campus. And we also try to use hybrid format as a solution in the mid of this pandemic. And it's very important that we have the common goals, we have a good communication. This is the lesson that we learned, and the involvement of a lot of stakeholders, the timely recognition, and try, although it is physically distant, but mentally we close to each other. So those things help us to overcome in a very difficult time, and we have successfully conduct the interprofessional education called by the Ministry of Health. And right now, we start our academic year in September, and we already conduct for the second round of this, because we have the new last year student now, and we already try, we will start the second round for our last year student now. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Tran from Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam, for sharing your experience. So as a conclusion, I think a heads up to all the speakers, but if I can quote quickly a published article from JAMA about the transformations of medical educations, I think we can come into a conclusion that what we're trying to do is to have a class of well-prepared physicians each year on time without lowering the standards, even though through pandemic. So congratulations once again to all the speakers, and I'll give it back to the committee. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
So thank you very much, Dr. Tenda, and all the panelists for the previous session. So now let's move on to the second topic for the morning. So I would like to welcome Professor Lau Tang Ching, the Vice Dean of Education from National University of Singapore, to be a moderator and chairman for the next session. Professor Lau, please.
Thank you very much. Can you all hear me? Okay, so a very good morning to all of you. It's really my privilege and pleasure to be chairing the next session on the topic of online teaching and learning. I'll be starting off with one presentation on how NUS Medicine adapted, especially during the COVID-19 situation. I'm the Vice Dean of Education in the NUS Yong Loo School of Medicine. So I'll be sharing my screen now. And hopefully, let me know if you can see what I'm sharing. Okay, so is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so this is a picture of me being an examiner during the COVID-19 pandemic in Singapore. And actually, I'm sure many of us can have the same feeling with me, that this was a pandemic that actually caught us by surprise. And many countries actually have to undergo a lot of adaptation and even hardships. For example, this is a speech by our Prime Minister just a few months ago, talking about how the pandemic actually will cause jobs to be lost. And in the next few years, there'll be very disruptive and difficult time for all of us. Thankfully, I think the situation is a bit settled now, but I think many of us are still trying to make sure that our economy get back on track. But I think what is also very important during this period is that we have seen many acts of solidarity and kindness during the pandemic, and this has shown the Singaporeans to be able to emerge stronger from the crisis with a sharper consciousness of being Singaporean. And in a way, I think both in ASEAN and in China, we see the same spirit of resilience and adaptability. And from the sharing from my colleagues just now, we can see how we have actually all tried to overcome this pandemic together and help our students and our faculties continue to teach and learn well. So it's the same in Singapore, because when the pandemic first struck, many of our hospitals have to be closed to the students. And in fact, many of the patients stopped coming. And many of our hospital staff have to be sent to the dormitories, which is the major epicenter of outbreak in Singapore, to help with the foreign workers over there. So in a way, we have to change our education postings and even pedagogy in very drastic ways suddenly. So here is just an example of how we will try to take general precautionary measures to make sure that the students are able to still go into the wards and learn in a safe way. So for example, there will be the need to declare their temperature on the app twice a day. And for students who have to observe quarantine measures, they will be strictly doing so. And many of them will continue to have this Trace Together app so that they can actually know who they come into contact with during the period in case we need to do contact tracing. They also have to go online to ensure that they log every single patient encounter, again for contact tracing purposes. And obviously, we also conduct very strict PPE or personal protection equipment training to make sure that they are safe. Of course, in terms of how we can ensure that they continue to learn in a safe way, will mean that we may have to cut down on some of the clinical training opportunities so that it is safer for the students. So what we did was we actually halved the number of clinical postings in terms of the duration of training. And for the other half of the time, the students are actually learning online. And of course, in order for them to do that, we also must make sure that the online learning is actually of the right sort of standard. And of course, we also have other measures set in place, such as some of the locations are outbound. For example, the isolation wards, the ICU, and of course, some of those places where COVID-19 patients can be, for example, in the pneumonia or acute respiratory ward. And some of the procedures which are high risk are actually not allowed for the students to participate in. And of course, some of the high-risk patients are also being avoided. And we also need to sometimes look out for things like consecutive rotations, being in the same hospital and having a washout period between hospitals. And these are some of the things that we thought maybe that students can continue to learn when they are in the posting. For example, focusing on communication skills, holistic care of patients with the exploration of patients' care goals, examination of real patients, because I think that tactile sensation and even the smell is something that we can never replace online. Clinical reasoning with real patients, again, very important. And then, of course, in some situations, there'll be the dealing with uncertainty and adaptability to some of these modification. And clinical procedural skills, again, have to be learned with real patients. And of course, there may be a lot of the other skill sets, such as how to deal with the various professional students and even their colleagues, the use of the electronic medical records, summary writing, and so on. And these are all the things that we feel we cannot replace online. But what we actually felt can be replaced online may be certain clinical training, such as use of simulated patients, so that they can actually continue to practice taking history and physical examination with simulated signs and symptoms, and then interpret the test results and imaging so that the clinical reasoning and the diagnosis can continue. We also use a real patient Zoom-based training for some of this history taking and clinical sort of evaluation, and I'll show an example of that later on. And when possible, we'll use case-based discussion ward round so that even though the students are not in the ward, but we actually use real patients' medical records to discuss the patient And then sometimes we actually just do online case-based discussion. And as some of you have suggested, the use of virtual patients platforms will be something visible. So here I just play a video of how we do our Zoom-based webinar teaching in the ward or in the clinic. Hi, in the next 1 minute, I'm going to show you how to teach using webinar in your clinic. Hi everyone, are you able to hear me? Hello everyone. So I'm going to just video this teaching a little bit because I want to show my colleagues the setup. Okay. Before starting, remember to take consent for videography for your patient from the CPS apps.
你知道你的背发生什么事情吗？我的背啊，因为我跌倒，伤到了。哦，你有跌倒过？以前啊。你几时跌倒呢？
Okay, so that's just a homemade video on how I do it in my own clinic. Another good example I like to share is the online learning using MS Teams, and I'm just going to switch quickly to a live MS Teams screen. So again, I hope you can see this. So yes, as you see, we actually organize our MS Teams into different channels. And so what we realized is actually this actually helped a lot because, for example, this is our year 1 channel. And we actually now very clearly can have the modules according to the system blocks such as musculoskeletal, blood, and so on. And concurrently in year 1, we do have the medicine and society track and the information literacy track. And I'm personally quite involved in the musculoskeletal teaching because I'm a rheumatologist. And so you can see that online, actually, we can record a lot of the teaching and the students can play back. And I think what is very exciting is that in one of these, all this teaching, the students are actually interacting a lot more by asking questions, and then we can answer it as well. And what is also very helpful is that the students are now a lot more engaged and they are on time and they actually attend in real person. In the past, when it's on in the lecture theater, sometimes the students will not come on time because it's too early. But now, even though it is at 9 o'clock in the morning or 8:30, they actually can still log on just when they wake up and they still learn. And why is also possible is that because we have tutors from clinical departments and preclinical sciences coming together more easily now, the chance of combined teaching is actually a lot more. And we do have that interaction across different specialties. And so here you can see that we also have other platforms, for example, in year 2 and in year 3 and so on. So I think this is one example of how being online actually helped us to overcome some of the challenges we had previously with regards to teaching and learning. So I'll just close this and I'll go back to my presentation. Now, of course, very importantly, we also try to make sure that our students are trained in personal protection equipment during the entire COVID-19 period. So this is just a photo showing how they are being trained consistently. And what is also quite really interesting is the experience of trying to conduct a clinical exam online. Later on, one of my colleagues will be sharing with you all a little bit more. And one other thing that we felt was very helpful during the COVID-19 was we allow our students to take on learning in another skill set because many of them couldn't do their elective posting during that period. And so we quickly come up with some of the pathway programs that allow them to learn skill sets such as health informatics, inquiry and thinking, health and humanities, and so on. And as a result, they actually learned some of the skill sets and they did projects in these various skill sets and they then presented. And in fact, we do have one particular event where all the students are able to showcase some of the projects that they've done. And the standards, I must say, is actually very high. And this is again an opportunity for us to then allow our students to be more diverse in their skill sets, and hopefully they can solve problems, even things like COVID-19, in a better way in the future. And if you're interested in seeing how NUS Medicine coped with some of the changes, there's an article on NetApp published that you can also download and read. And what I think we hope to achieve is this. One of our students actually upon graduation, she realized that a lot of our foreign workers cannot communicate with our local doctors because they are from different countries, from Bangladesh, from Thailand, from India. So she came up with an app such that the foreign workers can then communicate with any of the healthcare workers through an interpreter that is actually connected through the app. And actually, this actually helped us a lot to ensure that our foreign workers are well looked after even during the COVID-19 period. So our hope is that more of our students can now become that kind of generalist specialists to help to solve new problems in healthcare. And so what I can take away for COVID-19 is really we must continue to compare the safety measures to ensure our students are safe. And then the students can actually be nurtured to have a mindset to maximize their learning opportunities. Even though the clinical postings are shorter, but they actually now spend more time and they treasure even more. And of course, we continue to work closely with the students to co-create new learning opportunities and platforms so that their learning experience is not compromised. And personally, I also believe that the vision of the school, which is inspiring health for all, is even more real now in the COVID-19 world, because we really have to look into things like health promotion and health and disease prevention more and more, and not just about disease treatment. And in that regard, I think the school is moving more into training our students to become generalist specialists as well, so that they have other skill sets to solve new healthcare problems. And I think 3 competencies will continue to be needed even after the COVID world. Empathy, based on the right human values. Metacognition, so that we continue to think about new solutions and integrate knowledge. And of course, we can use technology in education, but always be situationally aware so that we know when technology is not working. And this is just some of the examples of the comic strips that our students and our colleagues came up with. And really, I want to show my appreciation to all our students and our teachers and our friends who have been working very hard to enable their teaching and learning during this period. With that, I thank you for your kind attention. So I will now introduce the next topic. I'll stop sharing first. So next we will have a speaker, 2 speakers in fact, from University of Malaya on the title of Experiences of Emergency Remote Teaching at Faculty of Medicine, University of Malaya. And the first speaker is Dr. Hong Wei Han. She is a senior lecturer at the Medical Education and Research Development Unit, Faculty of Medicine, University of Malaya. And her first degree and master's degree was in science education. She holds a PhD in medical education from University of Malaya and has been teaching in the medical education unit since 2013 and is a curriculum team lead for the undergraduate medical program. She also has special interest in curriculum development, metacognition, and students' motivation. Another speaker is Dr. Rino Halap. He's working as the capacity of Associate Professor at Medical Education Research and Development Unit, Faculty of Medicine in the University of Malaya. He obtained his master's in medical microbiology from Kasturba Medical College, and he also has a PhD in the topic of medical education from the same institution. He has undergraduate and postgraduate teaching experience of 20 years, and along with the academic responsibility of teaching, he also is the Deputy Head E-Learning Committee, lead for the Faculty Development, and member of the Academic Quality Assurance Committee, responsible for undergraduate medical program. He was also recently appointed as a member of the Malaysian Medical Council Special Working Committee for WFNE recognition. And he's a fellow of FAMA and functioned as a faculty member of FAMA as well. So with that, I would like to pass on the time to our 2 speakers, Dr. Hong, and Dr. Pala. Please proceed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Lau.
Since we had some concerns regarding our connectivity, so we actually pre-recorded our presentation. So we would like to play that on now. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, we can, but it may not be the full screen mode.
You can press at display setting at the upper display
Just
setting.
change the display setting on the top bar.
Yes.
Sure. Sorry.
Sorry. There's some technical glitch. Let us just get this up and running.
Yeah, that's your slide. No, it's not. Why is it not?
I'm sure.เขาเป็นคนเก่งแต่ก็จะเหมือนหมอทั่วไปรู้สึกว่าไอ้บริหารนี่มันน่าเบื่อแค่บริการแล้วก็ต้องมันก็คล้ายๆว่าผู้บริหาร
Sharing screen. It's good now. The screen is good now.
Okay.
So in order for us to actually move into totally online from our blended learning approaches, we wanted to completely move into totally online. So in such a situation, we were looking for a theoretical underpinning which actually will help us move effectively and rather in an emergency manner, in a time-bound manner, and whatever we are doing good and sustainable. So for this, framework which is actions model, because better engaged and which is cited in Bertrand Conrad's faculty guide for teaching and learning, which talks about access, cost, teaching and learning, interaction and user friendliness, organization issues, novelty and speed as the factors to be considered when we are actually moving completely online. So what are these practice access, whether all our faculty members and students who have access to the tools which we are actually using or adapting to. Second, what are the cost factors involved? Yes, all of you are very well aware that the cost factors are essential to be considered. And then whether what are the demands of our teaching and learning, what all things we need to do, what all teaching and learning tools which we need to do, what are the learning opportunities we are providing, all these elements need to be considered. And whether the platforms and the tools are user-friendly, and does it allow interaction, one of the most important element of that. Comprehensive learning management system is, yes, it has to provide knowledge, it has to provide knowledge management system. At the same time, it needs to be a collaborative and communication platform. The next element to be considered is organization issues, whether as an organization we have the capability to support whatever we are actually adapting to, whether we have the resources, whether we have the manpower, whether we have all other elements which are put in place before we actually move into this complete online teaching and learning. Most of the selection of teaching tools usually also gets influenced by the fact of novelty, as the more newer elements will have more newer features. But in our case, we actually more went for the credibility of the platform and also the sustainability of the platform in the long run. Now, the last element to be considered, the last factor to be considered is speed. Now, here speed does not mean speed of connectivity. Speed here means that how quickly we can actually convert our curriculum into more completely online. So, considering all these factors, the access, whether we do have access, or the cost, how effectively teaching learning can be done in our platform, and how good it is, how user-friendly it is, how helpful it is for communication and collaboration, and whether we can actually support it effectively. Considering all these factors, we decided to have an amalgamation of capabilities using Microsoft Teams and our existing University Malaya's existing learning management system, which is Moodle-based Spectrum. So it was towards the end of our discussions with the stakeholders, we actually could recognize that yes, our best option will be Microsoft Teams integrated with existing Moodle-based learning management system, which is Spectrum.
So in order for us to create a virtual learning environment, there are actually three phases involved. In the first phase, there will be planning and design. And of course, when we plan and design, the planning part involves the review of practices. What are the type of environment we need in terms of the classroom? Do we need to provide a large classroom for the number of students, or do we need separate classrooms for smaller group teaching? And what are the available resources that we currently have existing? So of course we do have virtual resources, but we wanted to know whether are we able to also cover this and integrate them with Microsoft Teams and have it connected to our Moodle system, which is Spectrum. Also, we had to consider what's the principle behind all this, where we wanted to strengthen the existing infrastructure, both physical and digital, in the sense that when we talk about physical infrastructure, we had to make sure that we had the capability to develop the virtual platform, and virtually we have to ensure that we are able to sustain the system where it is fully accessible by both students and staff. And then we also evaluated as well as procure additional resources, which Professor Leon will bring you through the various additional resources that we had in Google One. And in the second phase, where we did the development, the team actually had to do identification and integrating a communication and collaboration platform, which we actually integrated or amalgamated the Microsoft Teams with our existing Google system Spectrum, where resources will be able, where students will be able to receive the resources both from the Microsoft Teams or in the most go to Spectrum and they get the resources both ways. In the third phase, training had to be provided to both end users. So we are talking about the teachers, we are also talking about students, and not forgetting administrators from the various departments will also be involved in to ensure the teachers are able to log in and are able to conduct their virtual learning, teaching and learning activities as per schedule. First review and deconstruct to see what are the needs and the demands of the existing curriculum. And then we review the existing resources that we had and how it's going to act on the curriculum. We also analyze the possibilities and limitations of these resources and see what are the other resources that we possibly could subscribe to. Also, we then select the appropriate collaborative platform to run the virtual learning environment, which finally we decided on the Microsoft Teams.
So, in order to add on to our existing learning management system, model-based learning management spectrum, which is called as a spectrum, to add on capabilities of detailed collaborations, we, as mentioned, like we started using MS Teams in deeply. So our now the task was to create the virtual learning environment using the MS Teams model-based platform, the integrated platform. So the design principle was to simulate the physical facilities in virtual learning environment as close as possible. That means if there is a large classroom, we name it appropriately as large classroom for lecture, and if we have a PBL classroom, we name it as PBL classroom virtual learning environment. Now another important element to have if there is a virtual learning environment, it will also be very good for the students to access all other additional resources like library and materials which can be accessed to a library in the same platform. So we integrated those elements into our virtual learning environment. And as Dr. Hong Rehan was mentioning, we procured newer additional resources, which one of which we are currently using is lecturing. Now, this is also an opportunity to improve. And so this change is a time probably also to innovate. So the innovation in our case was integrating MS Teams with Spectrum, our learning system, and also our faculty was adaptable and agreeable to the change of instructional delivery from a conventional classroom to a flipped classroom. So this also actually became a time of innovation and improvement. The most fundamental and essential factor which ensures the effective utilization of virtual learning environment is the ensuring the end user capability to utilize the virtual learning environment. For that, as all of you are very well aware, we need to provide support in the form of training.
Okay, close stops. That stops. There, click there.
Training and other training resources. So the need was the end user should be able to effectively utilize the facilities provided in the virtual learning environment. And for that, we needed to provide training. So we decided for in situ training, that means the training which is happening within the virtual learning environment itself, using the same platform itself, which actually will enhance and augment the capabilities of the end user. So we developed user guides, both text format as well as the video format, and then delivered synchronous and asynchronous training to the same Microsoft Teams platform. Towards the end of it, definitely, as every teaching learning activity, we need to take feedback from both all the end users, the administrators, the students, as well as the faculty.
question from students on what worked well with the virtual learning environment. So of course, students have commented that they will have more time to study the lecture notes prior to the sessions, and the blended classroom sessions enabled them to actually ask questions in the class, and all they needed to do was just to raise their hand in Microsoft Teams and they discuss it freely. They could also type in their question, and the lecturers would then read the questions and answer them during the online face-to-face sessions. If you can see here, students have commented that the problem-based learning session is equally viable in Microsoft Teams. The platform is good and there is no differences between the online and the face-to-face sessions. We are able to get them to also do their flow chart. They are able to express their thoughts using Microsoft Teams as well. They are also able to learn to use skills at their own pace, because some of the videos available can be played over and over again, and then you can actually view it as and when they like it. How many times they like it is really up to them. But of course, we also do have constructive feedback that we thought we could do better in the future. And these students actually told us that sometimes they would have frozen screens and they're not able to stream the voice and video properly. And I guess it happens in all medical school due to connectivity problem. I guess these are all teething problems at the beginning. And as soon as they get used to the system, these problems were not very obvious anymore. They also thought that the virtual learning environment gives them the doubts about the session requiring them to do particular skills. So they're not sure whether the skills that they practice are done correctly or not, and for fear that if it's not done correctly, would that affect the assessment? They're also worried that hands-on components of the physical teaching may not be replaceable. But of course, when they get into their clinical years, the teachers will then re-emphasize again and reteach them again, especially for the year 1 and year 2 students. As for the year 3 students, we had them getting back to the hospital as soon as possible.
So that was our journey, an emergency response, an adaptation which we could do because of great teamwork. That's all from our side. So that's all, and we hope you're all staying safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Hong. Thank you, Prof. Patla, for the very clear step-by-step guide on how to do emergency online teaching in a very pedagogically sound way. Thank you. We will have our Q&A right at the end of this particular topic. Next, we will have sharing by Professor Zaw Wai So, the rector for the University of Medicine 1, Yangon, Myanmar. And his topic is on the preparation for online teaching and learning in Myanmar. Professor Zaw is... Hi, good to see you again. I think he really do not need a lot of introduction, as he's already well known by many of us. But we know that he's not only a very accomplished orthopedic surgeon, also a very much trained and learned scholar in medical education and medical sciences in orthopedics related areas. And we will be really looking forward to hearing his sharing on how he actually does online teaching and learning in Myanmar. Professor Zaw, please.
Thank you very much. Thanks for introduction and inviting me. And then I would like to say thanks all the organizing committee and then all the attendees, and then say to all the rectors and team from the different universities in ASEAN. Actually, my topic is preparation for online teaching learning in Myanmar. Sorry about that. Actually, I have been doing the two Zoom together, because other Zoom is because I'm leading the COVID-19 management in Yangon. Currently, we're having an outbreak. And then that's why, I'm a committee leader. I'm a chair of the COVID-19 clinical management committee. That's why actually we are having a meeting with the ministry. Sorry, it's all right. I'm also the chair of the Directors Committee in Myanmar National Education Policy Commission. And I will share a little bit about what we are doing in Myanmar. Next slide, please. I think you all know Myanmar, we are actually, we are developing and then also not well-developed country. And because of the system, we have military and socialist for 60 years, and now we are open. And then now we are trying to reform the Myanmar, social, economical, and then political, and also education reform. And regarding with the online, actually in Myanmar, we have accessible to electricity is only 66%. I mean, other parts, very difficult to get your mobile to recharge. That's problem, And then also mobile connection rate, not bad. 124%. But if you compare with the Malaysia, I think 148. And if you compare with the Singapore, 156. And then if you compare with Thailand, 186. That's why we are less. I mean, if you compare with the mobile, connectivity rate, it's in Myanmar, that's the other country in Southeast Asia. And then also, we have different terrain. Himalaya, north, and then, mountain, hilly area, and then also, delta and dry zone. That's why our connectivity is a bit difficult. And that's why we have hard to reach area in Myanmar. That is our limitation in Myanmar to set up the online and teaching learning, especially in this kinds of, pandemic. Because all the students, we closed the door, university, and they went back, to their land and their home and their area. And some of the area are not covered with electricity. Some of the area, we don't have mobile connection. And then some are very hard to reach. That's why, next slide, please. And this is our National Education Strategic Plan, equity, quality, equity, employability. And whenever we think of the system for the whole country, we think of that. And then that's why we are a lot challenging, to get quality education, to get equity in the education, and to get employability after the education. These are our challenges. And then also this is our main, aims and objective in the Myanmar education. Next slide, please. And then in higher education, because I mentioned that I'm a chair of the Rectors Committee, in our Rectors Committee, there's 174 university for 24 different regions. And then they are public, they are all government, public university. We don't have private university in Myanmar yet, but a system now changed. That's why in future, we are having a private university. And out of that, 16 medical and allied health university, they are under the Ministry of Health and Sports. We all are together under the one ministry. And then 6 medical university, and 5 in the civilian, and then 1 in the army. And then the army is a different, they are under the military Ministry of Military Army. And then every year we have 1,600 intake per year for medical school, 5 civilian medical school. And all the this is our university, higher education reform, and government, and then also our national education strategic plan. According to that higher education sector, we are aiming for university autonomy, because we are all under the government, and then all come from top down before. That's why now we have to bottom up and decentralize, and then also autonomous university. This is our strategy aiming, but a lot of difficulty, because we are under the 60-year, almost our age for the decentralized, and then socialist and military, and then even our senior, myself, we don't know about autonomy. If you want to have autonomy, that's why we are a lot having constraint to go that way. But we would like to have autonomy in university to improve. These are the related, and also internationalization, and then also digitalization. We are trying, and also I think you all know in Myanmar, all the universities are standalone university. Like our university, we are only for doctor, and then not for nurses. I mean, that's why we are standalone university, but actually we need comprehensiveness, I mean, to improve and then, to cooperate. That's why this is also one of our strategy, comprehensiveness and then comprehensive university. And during this time, I mean, when we are doing the reform, now there's a COVID-19 pandemic, and then that shocked us, and then all the university, and then we cannot, have a face-to-face, and then we close. But for medical university, postgraduate training, we continue. Next slide, please. And, medical university under the Ministry of Health and Sports, and then Department of Human Resources for Health, we are standalone university, and then we are trying to have a comprehensive university. Yangon Comprehensive Health Science University, Mandalay Health Science University, that we are now trying, and then we propose to the ministry and government, and then we are trying to have a comprehensive university in Upper and Lower Myanmar. And then also in our university, I mean medical school, actually we are medical university, we have postgraduate and undergraduate. Postgraduate means diploma, master, PhD, doctorate, all the clinical training for the doctors taking care by our university. And with the reform, education reform, medical education reform, we have been doing the reform since 2014, postgraduate competency-based training and workplace-based assessment that we changed since 2018. And undergraduate, now we already launched, we started outcome-based integrated curriculum in 2019, 2020. Next slide, please. And University 1, since 1927, I mean, this is my university, and standalone medical university, and public, we have 1,200 postgraduate, diploma, master, doctorate, PhD, and then 3,000 undergraduate. And e-management system and e-learning started in 2015. Government, actually, we have a national plan, e-government, and then also management system in the university, and e-learning started in 2015. But we are, there are a lot of constraints because, we don't have enough, funding and then capacity and human resource. That's why we are having a challenge in a lot of difficulty. And postgraduate, we started 2018 e-learning, and then undergraduate 2020 because of the COVID-19. Now we have to do that. Otherwise, we cannot. That's why now we try to develop the e-learning in the undergraduate program. Next slide, please. And then actually in my university, we have IT department, and then Dr. Zorlente, he will continue with the IT changes in our university. Dr. Zorlente.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Zorlente, and I'm actually a physiologist from Department of Physiology, but I'm also taking care of the information technology development in University of Medicine 1. So the sector that we established now is at the very start, and so it's very simple. The first thing is we need to do the infrastructure development, and the second thing is we have to develop the human resource to adapt to the IT environment. And the third thing is we have to prepare the workflows, and we have to develop the learning contents. So the students by themselves are almost, they are very quick to uptake the changes. So these are the sectors that we are establishing: the network infrastructures, and the internet access, and the virtual private network to connect the campuses, because we have 3 campuses in Yangon, and we have to establish other IT components like email, the database, and e-learning. And of course, now the most important during this COVID-19 pandemic is the teleconferencing and telemeeting. So we are now studying 2015. We have increased our internet access bandwidth. Now we have gained a good internet connection for all the campuses, and the government is granting more and more. And as previously stated, we have to establish a virtual private network between the campuses. It was also a challenge, and but it's now we have finished the connection, and we also installed a Wi-Fi network access throughout the campuses, and coverage is not 100%, but it's good enough to start the IT and e-learning. And with the MyNode project, I think Maydaw University is also part of the project. And as we finish the phase 2, the infrastructure has also become strengthened. And we also connected some of other allied universities, health allied universities, like the University of Public Health with the dead fibers. And we are also planning to extend our network to the other teaching hospitals and other medical universities throughout Myanmar. For the learning management system, we choose the Moodle as our learning mainstay learning management system. And together with other telecom collaboration tools and collaboration platforms and conferencing platforms like Zoom and Microsoft Teams. And we just established email with the domain of the um1yangon.edu.mm and a website which is new with the same domain. And the other projects for the database are ongoing as the e-government projects. And it's now in deployment stage. And currently, we have to stop face-to-face trainings. So we are keeping in touch with our students through video conferencing and remote lectures. We have now established video conferencing rooms in all campuses. And we are making regular sessions, and both for administrative and academic purposes. And online trainings are being done for the professional development and continuing medical education, and content development and e-workflow, and for the training of e-learning for both faculties and students. And we also use the conferencing tools like Zoom, and collaboration tools like Microsoft Teams as another fast-track connection. And e-library is also upgraded, and we have established the library catalogs like Union Catalog, Department of Medical Research Catalog, and the last one is the Moral. We are now accumulating our database in this newest database. And thank you very much for your kind attention.
Right. Thank you, Professor Zor, and for your very clear sharing of some of the unique challenges in Myanmar and how you all have been upgrading the infrastructure to meet up with the challenges. Congratulations on all your very useful sharing. Next, we actually have another old friend of the ASEAN Dean Summit. I think most of us are very familiar with Professor Dr. Gandis Reno Rahayu from Universitas Gajah Muda. She's going to share with us on this very interesting topic on knowledge acquisition during online learning. And I think Prof. Gandis has been a good friend of many of us. She's currently serving as the Vice Dean for Academic and Student Affairs at Faculty of Medicine, Public Health and Nursing, Universitas Gadjah Mada. Before this appointment, she was head of the Department of Medical Education and director of the Master Program in Medical Education. From 2010 until 2016, she was selected to serve as an executive committee member of the LNQED International Education Network based in Belgium. After completing her medical doctorate degree in UGM in 1997, Prof. Gandhis earned her master's degree in 2001, graduating with distinction from the Centre of Medical Education, University of Dundee, Scotland, UK. She later earned her PhD in medical education from the same institution. She began her career in medical education as a lecturer and went on to become the head of the Committee of Student Assessment at the UGM Faculty of Medicine and served as a chair in the Division of Examination Development, National Committee of Competency Examination for Indonesian medical students. She's a speaker at hundreds of national and international seminars, workshops, and conferences. In 2008, she was awarded an Endeavour Executive Fellowship from the Government of Australia. She is a 2013 Fellow of the FAMA Institute and a member of the editorial board of the Indonesian Journal of Medical Education. She has supervised and served as an examiner for numerous master and PhD theses. So once again, Prof. Gandhis, all yours.
Thank you very much for a very kind introduction, Professor Lau. Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start sharing my presentation. Is it visible? Thank you. Right. I would like to present perhaps the most simple concern during the pandemic. Many people think that facilitating knowledge acquisition through online learning during COVID-19 pandemic is easier rather than facilitating others' competency like a clinical skill or even attitude. But we have an experience that not everything went well, smoothly as we expected. So it should be evaluated and monitored periodically, and enhancement development should be designed also periodically. So my presentation will be divided into 3 sections. First is about the format for adaptation that we did for large and small group teaching for knowledge acquisition. So I will not talk about skill training, clinical skill training, or clinical rotation. And then a second part, I'm going to talk about how we listen to student and teachers' perspective and the action that our institution takes to improve the knowledge acquisition of the student through online learning. So this is the adaptation that we did from middle of March until around end of June or earlier of July. So for last group teaching, we adapted, I think, it's like in many other institutions, to use synchronous lecture using several platforms, including our own platform. Then it can be also recorded as well. Yeah. Then the video recorded, uploaded into online platform, our own platform, and university learning management system platform. And the asynchronous things can be in the form of required reading, assignment to read references independently, followed by discussion through our learning management system. For the practical session, the not clinical skills practical session, but practical session to deepen knowledge. The department developed video learning, and the video followed by assignment or quiz to assess comprehension of the topic or discussion with facilitators. For the small group discussion of problem-based learning or tutorial, so step 1 is synchronous online discussion using several platforms. Then step 2 is independent study to search learning objective, writing and submit report through our learning management system. Then step 3 is asynchronous discussion in small group via our learning management system. That's the adaptation that we did. During middle of March until end of June and earlier of July. So did it work well? What the students think as well as the teachers. So periodically, we also listen from the student voice through focus group discussion done virtually. The student thought that there are strengths as well as weaknesses that should be improved. So some of the strength is they consider it flexible, relaxed, no preparation to go to campus, more confident to raise question, answer the question as well, and then documented material can be learned later in their own pace, but there are many areas for improvement, such as still too much assignment, reduced concentration easily, more feedback and interaction section is expected, internet quota, as well as schedule changes. From the teacher perspective, from lectures that converted into online lectures, we gathered teacher from 94 teachers and we asked whether the content of their lecture can be delivered well through online lecturing. 72% answer definitely yes, but there are still quite a lot teachers that say no or unsure with by providing others response. And when they provided others response, we try to evaluate what is the reason. Several reasons for others response are, it's really depend on the topic, can be yes, can be no. And it need adaptation and also depend on the situation and connection, and also depend on the skill owned by the teacher for delivering a good online lecturing. So we still need to work very hard to improve those areas. And when we change the question again to the teacher regarding lecture, whether the identified competency be achieved through online lecturings, 99% of the teacher say definitely yes, but still 13.8 say no and 17 unsure. Others giving other response that when we see and look at more detail, they put other response because they think it's not optimal. So it's not yes or no, but black and white, but it's not optimal. And also some of them need to make slight changes of targeted competency. Yeah. For improvement, we also gather idea from the teacher to improve the online lecturing. So they provide some ideas. First is more on flipped classroom models, but it's not only about flipped classroom, but more specifically is to strengthen asynchronous session by providing more clear instruction, variation of learning materials, not only video, but also hands-on quiz, case study, as well as consideration to burden of the student. Yeah. So teachers need to consider the burden that should be done by the student for day by day. The second thing is strengthening synchronous session, especially how to make it two-way communication. It's not quite easy for all teachers. And then the teacher also think that synchronous sessions should be shortened, so can be different from the situation before pandemic. Anticipated time for technical problem, and they need feedback as well, and also propose more panel discussion. The other ideas that the student propose is to subscribe good learning resources, for example, virtual passion, using learning management system that doesn't take much internet quota, and we at a faculty and university level work on it. So this academic year start from next week, hopefully better. They also want a system to monitor student engagement because of the quota internet connection reason. It's not quite easy to ask the student all to show their video and then how to make them engage, especially if the group is big, like more than 100 students. They also expect that each department provide a reference book to the student through learning management system. Then we see it's not only lecture, but also practical session from teacher perspective. Again, similar question, can the content of practical session will be delivered well through online? And the response for yes is lower rather than lecture, as we perhaps guess. So it's only 48 that definitely confidently say yes, and still, only 21, but no is 48, and others is 30. But when we ask with a reason for other response, it's again depend on the topic. And some of the teachers actually during the period of middle of March until end of June, they did not involve in facilitating practical sessions, so they cannot provide the answer. And the other is because they think it's not yes, no, but it can be done, but not optimal as direct face-to-face session. When we change the question into can the identified competency be achieved through online practical session, there are still big no and others as well. And several reasons for other response depend on the topic, not optimal. They did not facilitate practical session during start of the beginning of the pandemic until end of academic year, and yes, if students were involved actively. There are also some area for improvement, like they still want to propose to meet directly, non-virtual with tight COVID-19 protocol, gradually small group for complex skill, and at university level, the scenario is to see until end of October. If this is possible, we can arrange gradually for small group, especially for complex skill. But if the situation is not getting better, we have to continue with the online for the first 4 years. The other idea is virtual lab, online practical session, independent session, quiz, online practical session, and discussion. More videos should be produced, and the practical session should focus not on data collecting activity, but perhaps data analysis, gamification, virtual reality-based simulation. That's all the idea for improvement of the practical session. For the tutorial, teachers more confident that the identified competency can be achieved through online tutorial or small group discussion. At least 75% say yes. So the tutorial can be continued, and there are some area for improvement as well. We also ask them to identify what kind of training topic that they need to improve their skill in delivering online learning. And this is the result that, for example, most of them want to learn more about various online learning methods, making attractive online learning methods, developing digital learning resources, how to engage students, making effective feedback, security issue of online assessment, time management, as well as instructional design for online learning. That's the identified training they feel they needed. So the third part, what the action that we take as an institution to improve and to follow up the idea that the teachers and the student propose. So the first is that actually before pandemic, start from 2018, 2019, every year, we give educational grants for the student. So through the grant, the student can make learning resources based on IT. So we provide certain grant, and then this is competitive based. They can propose, and this is the result of the grant 2018, 2019. Then because of the COVID, we want to continue this program as well, and to make the program better to support our teachers. So this year, we provide a 40 educational grant for the teachers, and slightly different from the previous 2 years that focus on producing learning resources. This year, educational grant focus asking the teacher to design their course better. And inside the course, they can develop as well appropriate learning resources. So hopefully by end of October or somewhere in November, we can get the result from this educational grant for 40 teachers. The other one, to accommodate the staff development topic that the teacher proposed, we also conducted staff development on e-learning. Actually, on July and August, there are already some staff development workshops at university level, but we believe one workshop is not enough, because sometimes it's try to develop a skill that should be practice. So we also arrange more systematic staff development on e-learning. So it consists of 3 batches. Every batch lasts for 3 days, and every batch consists of 8 sessions. So generally, every batch, there are 3 main topics. First is building instructional design for e-learning. Second topic is creating attractive learning media, and the third is organizing assessment for online learning. It's very interesting to conduct and deliver this staff development through online as well. They discuss, practice, there are facilitators that accompany them. Then after the session, we also provide further consultation session for the staff that need it, because the speed, the pace of each staff is different. The other thing that we also provide studios for the teacher to videotape their teaching, or to make a good video, or to make a synchronous session if it's not impossible at their home for any reason. So we provide a studio as well. So there are several studios in our faculty. There's also staff that can help them, and we also added some equipment that needed, so the teacher can be supported better. The other one that we aware is that this is the learning process for the teacher as well. So short staff development is not enough. So we renovate our learning resources and innovation development unit. We call it as LRS, Learning Resource and Innovation Development Unit. So this unit is going to accompany the teacher to develop further their learning material, a consultation on the difficulty and the challenge that they face. So every teachers can have better solution if they got difficulty in providing online learning for knowledge acquisition. I think this is the last slide. this journey is not only bumpy for the student, but also for the teachers. And for me, it is a journey. It's not a short trip. It may be long trip that the journey also should be monitored, should be understand, and then from there we have to act appropriately through based on the need of the teachers as well as the student. Hopefully, what happened from middle of March until end of June, earlier of July, can be a meaningful lesson learned for us to develop better for the new academic year that will be started generally next week, but some already started a week or 2 weeks ago. I think that's the last slide from mine. Thank you very much for your attention, and if there is a question, we'll be happy to answer. Thank you, Professor Lau.
Thank you very much, Prof. Gandis, for the excellent talk. I really like the survey that you have done, and also your focus on empowering the faculties, both in terms of knowledge and even skills. So that's very important. So we'll have the Q&A right at the end. So we quickly move on to the last speaker for this particular topic. She's Professor Dr. Diwani Oviyanti. She's from the University Indonesia, and maybe I'll just give a very quick introduction to her as well. Professor Diwani is an obstetrician and gynecologist and currently serving as the Vice Dean in Education, Research and Student Affairs, Faculty of Medicine. She is also a teaching staff in the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at Cipto Mangunkusumo Hospital, and also she graduated from the Faculty of Medicine, University of Indonesia in 1986, and from then went on to do the Obstetrics and Gynecology Specialist Study Program at the same faculty in 1995. She holds a doctorate in epidemiology from the Faculty of Public Health, University of Indonesia, and in 2006, she also had a Master of Public Health degree from the Faculty of Medicine, Gajah Mada University in 2017. So very warm welcome to you, Prof. Diwani.
Professor. Thank you, Professor. So last but not least, is it okay? Hopefully everybody still have the strength to hear. So we will present our university and medical education adaptation during COVID-19 pandemic. So as you know, that University of Indonesia, the Faculty of Medicine has 48 programs under our faculty. So the specialist program is under the university. We have specialist program and also subspecialist program. So it's all about profession. So our students until now still work in the hospital and never stop working in the hospital because they are specialist and subspecialist program. And we also have a 1/3 of our medical doctor program, 2/5 our medical doctors program, around 600, and now 400 will be in the clinical rotation, already in the clinical rotation. We don't really have problem in the pre-clinical rotation, but we also have problem in master degree program and PhD program because most of them having research in the hospital also and having research in the laboratory. So we cannot lock down them for a long time. So they should also blend their activity between the online and then real work in the hospital or in the laboratory. So this is our what we should reach learning objective. If it is only academic, most of them we can do it online. But if it is come to the skill, even as medical doctor, specialist, subspecialist, and also for the master degree and PhD, they should still work with all the things during COVID period. So it is already begin in Indonesia. The lockdown began in the 1st of March, in the early of March, maybe a little bit different with other, but we really lock our student and only beginning for the profession in the mid of July. only the profession for the medical doctor, but the specialists and subspecialists, they still work until now, never ending. So this is our concern, how to adapt our lecture, our module, because we should give them also the skill. We cannot stop because we don't know until when that the COVID-19 pandemic will end it. So we should create anything to make them understand. So the first thing our dean Professor Ari, is making the standard, what they should do and what they should not do, what will happen with all our lecturer. We have more than 600 lecturer, and clinical lecturer, we have more than 400 clinical lecturer. We should make them understand what they should do in between, before we take our medical doctor clinical rotation back to the hospital. So the adaptation of the programs begin in adaptation to the modules to online or blended learning. We cannot make everything just online, so we make it blended learning. Especially for the medical doctor, specialists, and subspecialists. We also think about the entrance exam. So until now, we still do our entrance exam. We never stop receiving our students. We do the entrance exam beginning from April, and then for the specialists and subspecialists also. So we still do it like it is. We never stop. We never lock down the university and the faculty. So all the research begin the end of the research. It's a little bit simple. They just do the writing, and then we do the promotion, the examination, the open exam for the PhD, for the master degree. All is online, and so also for our student, we make it all online. So nothing too serious about that. But the problem is the concept from face-to-face learning to online learning. I also hear from others that it is not always easy to make, especially the oldest one, the oldest lecturer, to understand how to change the face-to-face learning to online learning, and then using all the things to make it happen. So for the youngest one, they make video, they make things. It a little bit easy for them, but for the old one, I think we should do some backup and making them understand how to make it, how to use the computer. And in Indonesia and in our faculty, we use mostly Zoom, because the Zoom is the bandwidth is not so heavy, so it can be used for everybody. So even the Wi-Fi is not too good, it still can be used. It is a little bit different with, I'm so sorry, for Google, Microsoft. Sometimes it absorbs the bandwidth too big. So sometimes there is happen. We cannot do it easily. So that's what I already explained, that the admission still happen. We do the admission for test for more than 300 in our international class, one of them. Then we do the MMI, the multiple what is it? We do the searching them by doing the conversation with them. From 300, we only take 30, but it all from online. So everything just happened like it is. So it is very easy to do it with the Zoom. Everything is just easy. So we do test, we do promotion, we do everything. But in the education process, the skill training education, we can make it some with video and teleconference, but some not happen. So we should ask them to do the models or so. So some of our lecturer is very, very creative. They send models like how to do the examination in the eye. They do it by having the model is the puppets model and something else. So more creative for them to do it by online only, but still they should come back to the hospital, to their models, to their laboratory, to their wet laboratory, to do anything others that cannot be reached until 6 months. They should begin the clinical rotation. So the evaluation can be done by computer-based, or also could be by conference, and the case report and journals is also very easy, but with the patient, we should do something better. So based on the learning assessment methods in the year 2021 during the pandemic, then the new academic year already started in August. So we already try everything to make it happen by approving the new students and anything else. And then academic learning is also mostly conducted by online, but the clinical rotation is already begin in the mid of July for students in the MD degree. But for students, for specialists and subspecialists, it's still doing like that from the beginning of March when the pandemic happened. Any specific courses that do not meet the target of competency, we already tried to replace it at the end of the semester, and we already finished that one. We are happy to finish that one. So this mid of July, we already begin with the new group that maybe could be ended at the end of August. Every student in offline learning activity, laboratory research, practical student must implement the COVID healthcare protocol. So the general rules is clinical training guidance orientation. We give it to every student. So we make a module, online module that every student should understand, should finish this clinical training guidance, making by our medical education unit. So when they begin the modules, they'll really already understand how to prevent themselves in having the COVID-19 infection. Until now, we also have an evaluation. Maybe I don't have time to present it, but we are lucky that until now, none of our students in the specialists and also subspecialists and then the medical doctors having a serious infection of COVID-19. Even we still have somebody having the swab positive, but they are in the good health. They are not really affected by the COVID-19. We are happy to have that. And we are already tracked them that they have this COVID-19 infection, not from the hospital, but most of them having them outside from the hospital because they have their surrounding really in Jakarta. Mostly Jakarta is still very high in COVID-19 infection. So clinical practice in our medical student happen in 3 hospitals. Rumah Sakit Cipto is the biggest, and then Rumah Sakit Persahabatan and Rumah Sakit Jantung Harapan Kita. Rumah Sakit Persahabatan is our hospital for COVID-19 hospital. We have the Department of Pulmonology there, and Rumah Sakit Jantung Harapan Kita is where our Department of Cardiology there. So these 2 modules still happen for our subspecialist, specialist, and also our medical student. So in RSCM, we have all the others module. During clinical rotation, the student must implement health safety protocol. We have lot discussion with the parents, especially for the medical doctor grade, because all the parents very afraid of having their children going to the hospital. But until now, we have mostly communication about physical distancing, personal protective equipment, and student also. We divide them into small groups so they don't come together to the hospital. Mostly only 3 students for every step. This is our book and our module that we give for every student who will come to our module, our lecture. They should understand the COVID-19 before. How about the online method? We have the orientation lecture, topic discussion, e-learning using our Skelly. Skelly is our online things that can back up. It's already happened from years that we use it for our e-learning. But we still also do the bedside teaching. Even some of them is virtual bedside teaching. So we do something for them. They still have the time for them to discuss with the consultant and also with some patient that we already know that the patient is not a COVID-19 patient, so still we can do it. And the formative evaluation, some summative evaluation also done by online, and some of them also in OSCE with models. Staff training is very important. We do a lot of staff trainings from the beginning in the April. So every staff nowadays know how to make a video, how to do the online presentation and something else. So this is one sample of our admission test with our students. We do the admission test by online, and then online lecture with Zoom. So mostly with Zoom. So we have our faculty pay for the Zoom that can absorb until 1,000 students, so 1,000 people. So it is very easy. And then our lecturer try to make a video, like in UGM also we have at least 2 places that we can make video, but most of them they make it themselves in their home. So we make video to make it more easy for the resident to understand or the student to understand. We also make a night shift morning report, and it is very usable. So every student can hear, so they understand what happened in the hospital by the online night shift morning report every morning. So they still can learn more about that, and also online live demonstration. So mostly we use for our medical MD student is using this for looking what their friend, one of their friend. So they have each student come to the place. It is operating theater, and then also the place where the forensic medical working. So they can look still like they look it from. So we have our camera, and then it's really help the student. So they don't have to come into the place, but they can see, and then they come in turn one by one to the clinic where they should have their clinical rotation. It is online base exam, lot of base exam. We do it, the OSCE, the LCBE by online. It is easy. And this is the Hippocratic Oath ceremony also done by online. So the student support services is very, very important. Not every student can pay by themselves the Wi-Fi, the masker. And then because in the hospital, they should use like this, especially the student, and they also have except of the PPA, the routine exam for the rapid and the swab, and also the health insurance, because it's very important if there is something happen to them. So it was given by the government, the health insurance, and then the routine exam we have from some donation, and some is from the hospital also, and also the PPA, some is from the donors and some is from the hospital. Hospital cannot give it to every student, of course, because they have they don't have all the money for the students, because we have a lot of students, but we can ask it from the donors. So this is the donors give us all the things that can be used by the students. And then also the free Wi-Fi quota for students is also very important. We have our university give the 50 gigabyte. I think that's more than enough for our student to work at home, because without this Wi-Fi quota that from the good Wi-Fi promoters, they cannot do anything from that. So that's what happened in our university, and I'm happy to hear also from other university. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Duana, for sharing so comprehensively on how University Indonesia adapted, especially in the clinical setting. And I think the sharing has been most useful. So I know we don't have much time, but I would still want to open up for some quick questions from our participants. Yeah. So anyone would like to ask any question, you can either type on the chat, or you can even just enable your microphone, and we will be more than happy to hear your questions. And the panel of speakers will be ready to answer as well. While waiting for 1 or 2 questions, maybe I'll ask each of the speakers, what do you think is the single most important critical element to allow the online learning to become successful? So maybe I'll start with Malaysia, Dr. Hong and Prof. Pala.
In our setting, if you want to consider the most important aspect of making online learning successful, good infrastructure, and yes, connectivity was the bigger challenge in our side. So yes, connectivity first of all. Then definitely the students' readiness to go into the online mode. Students' readiness especially. These were the two factors which we consider, Dr.
And also, I think our administrative staff, they were very supportive when it comes to like ad hoc, what do we do next? And I think they're very good in supporting us, giving us all sorts of possibilities, and that we will be able to weigh what are the pros and cons if we were to do with plan A and what are our plan B, because as we said, these are all in emergency situation. So I guess from my point of view, our support staff was also very, very important. They played a very important role apart from student readiness as well as infrastructure.
Thank you. I'm not sure if Prof. Zor is now still in the meeting on the national plans for the COVID-19 pandemic. Prof. Zor, are you there? Okay, maybe wait for a short while, and perhaps I can request Prof. Gandhis to share from your perspective what you think is the most important.
Yes, thank you, Prof. Lau. So yes, I agree for the infrastructure, but beyond infrastructure, I think readiness for the student to be more self-directed is very important. Then for the teacher point of view, first, in my opinion, is willingness to change, to adapt with the change, and readiness to learn as well. And especially when designing the online learning, they want to see from student perspective, not only from their own perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very helpful. And Prof. Dewana, what is your
So I agree with everybody here from Professor Gandes and also from Malaysia that the infrastructure is very, very important. That's why we asked the university to give it to our students, because without that, then they cannot work. Because if the Wi-Fi, they don't have it, and then it's not good, then it is stop everything. But also adaptation of the module is very important, to make every lecturer understand how to adapt the old way to face-to-face, and then to the online. So adaptation of the model, we have lot discussion and training and everything during these months to make it happen. Thank you.
Thanks. So in summary, three things: infrastructure, student readiness, and faculty development. And yes, I think exactly all of you have shared very clearly on how that can be done in different contexts, and even despite all the challenges, all of you have managed to overcome them. Congratulations to all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor.
So,
thank you for all.
I think lunch is now upon us. I just want to check any final question.
Okay.
Any final question before we break for lunch?
Okay.
Okay, if not, then I'll pass the time back to our hosts. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Lau.
So thank you very much, Prof. Lau.
Thank you.
And all the panelists for the morning session. So we have almost an hour break, and the meeting will resume about 1 p.m. of Bangkok or Indochina time. And we're going to have two topics this afternoon, knowledge assessment, and the other one is clinical skill development and assessment. So we'll see you all back in an hour. Thank you.